So in this video we're going to look at annealing, and basically the annealing process is where we're heating the metal up to soften it so it will take a deeper pattern and it's be easier to work. We're going to heat use the gas torch to heat the little piece of copper up to a cherry red colour, and that's about 650 degrees. And what the heating up does is takes the stresses and strains out of the metal. And if you imagine that the metal had a grain, and as you hammered the metal and bent it, the grain gets all mixed up, and the metal doesn't want to slide within itself. So by heating it up, you bring that grain into a more uniform pattern, and it slides more easily within itself. The process is quite simple. We're going to use our little piece of metal that we put through the roller, and if we wanted to do any more texturing to this, because it's been through the roller, it's become quite work hardened. So any more work would be very hard to do, and we probably wouldn't get a very good finish to it. So we're going to anneal it, and we use the gas torches, as I've said before, and what we're going to do is we're going to lean our piece of metal against a little heat block. If we lay it down on the block, then the brick absorbs a lot of the heat, and it takes a long time to heat up. So if we lean it up against a brick, then we can get the heat all the way around, and it'll heat up a lot quicker. We're going to see the different colours that as the metal heat up, and some of the colours we can retain. They're only microns thick, but they're sort of interesting purples and blues and things. But what we're aiming for is a nice cherry red colour, and this will take all the stresses and strains out of the metal. So now we've switched the pump on, because our torches work on gas and air. It's the red pipe is the gas, and it's just normal gas, just like it is in your home for the cooker or heating. But and the black pipe we use to pump air through. You can hear the pump whirring in the background. The torches have a little pilot light which are lit all the time, and by just turning the little tap on, the torch will light automatically. And what the pumped air does is makes the flame a lot hotter. So without the air, and we can turn it off with this little button here, we just get this sort of hot, well, bushy flame, which isn't really hot enough to heat our little piece of copper to a cherry red, but it's useful for just heating things up gradually. And as I take my finger off and allow more air to mix with the flame, then it becomes a lot stronger and hotter. And we don't need anything dramatic at the minute, but a nice flame. And we're going to use it just to, we're going to paint the flame onto the metal. And it's a good habit to get into, that you're going to continually move the flame. Especially with silver, if you hold it in one position, you get hot spots, and you're liable to melt the metal and things. So if you get into a good habit of keeping the flame moving, you can heat the metal up to a nice constant temperature all over. And we can see, you saw the colours appear, and now we're sort of aiming for a cherry red colour. And this is the colour we're aiming for, and this is about 650 degrees. And if we retain that, then if it's a thick piece of metal, then the heat goes right into the middle of the metal. But once we've had about 5 seconds of that, then we can take the heat off and switch the torch off. Now remember, everything around here is very hot, so we're going to use tweezers to pick up the metal nice and carefully, and then straight into the sink, and that cools down. Because it's a really good conductor, it cools down very quickly. But now we can see this is so bendy and it's almost like a piece of chewing gum because we've taken the stresses and strains out. But if we continued to bend it, then it would become work hardened again, and we would have to anneal it again. If you were raising a bowl or making a complicated shape, then you may have to do the annealing process maybe up to 20 or 30 times. What happens when we heat the metal up, especially copper and silver, they oxidize. It's a reaction between the oxygen in the flame and the atmosphere reacting with the copper, and silver has a small content of copper, so the copper oxidizes. And what we do to get rid of all these, it's not so bad, this one, but sometimes it's got a black coating on the surface, and if we're doing further work to it, it might inhibit the further processes. But we have just here, we've got an acid bath, and this is it's a 5% solution of sulfuric acid and water. Inside there's a little basket, and we use our copper tongues, and you can see the basket inside there, and we put those in there. And what the sulfuric acid does is eats onto the surface of the metal and cleans away the oxidization. It's only a 5% solution of sulfuric acid, so if you've got paper cuts on your finger, you may feel it, but it won't eat holes in your fingers. But because it's in a nice safe container, and the container has got a little tank of warm water around it, then it's easy to pick up with tweezers and put back in the sink and give it a good rinse to get rid of any acid solution on it, and then it's ready for the next process.